Hi YouTube. Lately I've been doing a little bit of research on the James Bulger case. If you're not familiar with the James Bulger case, back in 1993, a young boy named James Bulger was a 2-year-old boy was in a supermarket with his mother and went missing. And it was eventually found out that he was kidnapped by two 10-year-old boys and taken away and murdered. Both of the 10-year-old boys, Jon Venables and Robert Thompson, were captured a few days later and arrested and charged with murdering James Bulger. They were charged and sentenced to 8 years in a facility for misbehaving children, in a secure facility where they weren't allowed to leave. Almost like a prison, but they were allowed to leave at some, they would have days out and things like that after, I think 2 years into their sentence, they started being able to have the privilege of going out once a month and then once a week and so on and so forth, where it turned out to be they were playing, either one or both of them, I think, were playing football or soccer or whatever it is they play, they were playing a sport weekly under an assumed name. And then when they would reach the age of 18, they were both the boys were released and were given a new identity so they could have a new start. And they weren't allowed, they're under parole conditions for the rest of their lives. Neither of the boys are supposed to go, that now they're men, were supposed to go anywhere near where the crime had happened, as well as part of their conditions, I think, to prevent them from running into family members of James Bulger and things like that. But as far as I know, and I think as far as anyone knows, Robert Thompson hasn't, since he has been released and since the crime, as far as anything is known, Robert Thompson has not done anything to violate his parole or anything, hasn't participated in any criminal activity, and hopefully he's a good citizen and is a good member of the community nowadays and that, and hopefully he is trying to hopefully he's doing things to try and make up for his mistake as a child, to try and repent for his crime, because it was quite horrible. But back in 2010, Jon Venables was arrested and sentenced to a prison term for collecting child pornography. He'd also before then, done several things that are against his parole, but was not caught, such as he had entered his no-go zone area several occasions. He had participated in drug taking and other misdemeanors like that. But it was discovered that he had hundreds of pictures of child pornography on his computer. A couple of times he had to be relocated already because of people finding out his identity, but which turns out he was telling some people, and then he was becoming quite heavily intoxicated telling people, and then it was costing the government hundreds of thousands of dollars to create a new identity, get him somewhere else, and start again, just for him to do it again. And when he was caught, he was he had called someone to let them know that he thought his identity had been compromised again. And as they arrived at his house, he was attempting to destroy the hard drive of his computer, where information, and they seized the computer straight away and found that it was full of child pornography, which included rape of young children. The images that he had on his hard drive. Jon Venables only served a short amount of time in prison. I think he was sentenced in 2010 and released in 2011. Again, on when was he? So he only served He didn't serve very long at all for this crime. But during his whole court proceedings, it was, you know, his new identity has been kept a secret. And now that he is released again, not only again on parole, like I said before, previously will be on parole for the rest of his life, but is also on parole now for this child pornography offence, and his identity is still not being released to the public. But I think, and I feel a lot of people would agree with me that he does not have the right to have his identity kept a secret. No matter what happens, the crime they both committed as young boys was a terrible crime, but Robert Thompson, as far as anyone knows, as far as I know, is an upstanding citizen nowadays, is doing everything right, keeping to his parole terms, and not doing anything illegal. But Jon Venables has broken this, not only with just tiny misdemeanors, but with serious criminal offences. And I feel that if he has a violent past, he has obviously perverted interests, he is a danger to society, and society should know who this person is. And it is highly possible, as he has proven, that he will continue to offend in the future. His crimes may begin to escalate again, to, instead of just collecting child pornography, to where he actually assaults a child, or anything, you know, could go back. He's murdered before, there's no reason why he wouldn't do it again. I feel that if he has committed such a serious crime as child pornography, that he should not be allowed to have the privilege of his identity being kept secret. This is just my opinion. I don't know how anyone else feels. If you have an opinion, please let me know down below. If anyone else has a different opinion on this matter, please let me know down below. Or if you agree with me, it would be nice to give this video a thumbs up. Someone that is quite possibly as dangerous as Jon Venables may be, the community should be aware of where this man is and how dangerous he may be.